Hey, my friends, JT DeBolt is here with you today for the Elite Marketing Pro Daily Dose of Awesome. Great to be with you on a Monday morning, kicking off another big week here. And it's always a privilege and honor to come to you here each and every single Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern for your 15 minutes of inspiration, education, motivation, whatever it is you need to get your day started right. And I say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time it is for you, no matter where you might be tuning in from on the Big Blue Marble. Thanks for joining us here. Always a privilege and honor to come at you. And as you're jumping on, let me know where you are tuning in from on this Big Blue Marble of ours. Great to see our friends tuning in each and every single Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Lots of folks. Hey, Jan, good to see you. Whitman, good to see you. Listen, today I want to talk to you about something that's extremely important, and I think as entrepreneurs, we're constantly striving for this. And that is, how do we know when we've kind of gotten to that point where we can go full-time with our business? There are a lot of folks right now who are looking to make that transition. They either have a job right now, perhaps they have a career that they're working on, maybe even a career they're passionate about, and they're looking to make a jump to entrepreneurship. Now, here's the question I want to ask, and I want to see people dialing in here. If you are working a job, meaning you're not a full-time employee or a full-time entrepreneur yet, give me a 1 in the comments section. See lots of cool people saying hello. Hey, Sana from Sweden, great to see you. Barbie from Gainesville, Texas. Luke from the UK. Jill, hey Jill, calling in or dialing in from Calgary. Awesome. So if you're a 1, what that means is that right now you probably have an occupation, a vocation that you're working. It's a job, it's a career. It doesn't matter. There's no judgment here, but I want to get kind of an idea for folks who are still looking to make that transition, because I'm going to give you something that's extremely important. It's a mindset shift that you want to make. It's an attitude, it's a behavior, and it's really a posture that you want to take on. Now, if you've ever heard of a guy by the name of Steven Pressfield, Steven's written a lot of great books, including Turning Pro, which I'm going to kind of reference today. He's written a lot of books kind of around the idea of what it means to show up and be mentally tough, but not just from the place of kind of chest-pounding bravado, okay? Because when we talk about mental toughness, that's not what it necessarily means. Mental toughness is the ability to be resilient. It's the ability to withstand challenges and tough times. And as entrepreneurs, that's what we're built for, right? Most people in the world see problems. Entrepreneurs see challenges, and through those challenges, they see opportunities, and that's exactly why you've probably heard me say this, and if you haven't yet, you're going to hear me say it quite a bit. Entrepreneurs, I truly believe, are the path blazers, the trailblazers. They're the ones that are going to make the difference in the world, not politicians, not elected officials, not musicians or celebrities. Those aren't the people that are going to make the big difference in the world. The people that are going to make the big difference moving forward, just as they have in the past, are entrepreneurs. However, one small caveat to this: in order to make a huge difference in the world, we have to be poised to take on a different mindset. This is different than what you've heard in the past about the employee versus entrepreneur mindset, because regardless of whether you're working a job or whether you're building your own business, you can take on this mindset right now. And the mindset difference I'm talking about is the difference between being an amateur and being a professional. So this past weekend, my wife and I and the kids were touring houses. We're looking to buy a house here in the local area. And the market's kind of a weird time to be buying a house anyway. So you can gauge the attitude of the market almost by the attitude of the real estate agents. It's kind of interesting. So my wife was a licensed realtor for a very long time, and she always conducted herself as a professional. And there were times when the market was hot and when the market was soft, and there were times where people were in the real estate profession were out there really hustling, and times when they weren't. The difference was my wife was always very consistent. It didn't matter to her what the market was doing or what the economy was doing or who was in office. It just didn't matter to her. She was going to go out and build her real estate profession either way. The same goes in this industry, whether you consider yourself a network marketer, an internet marketer, or anywhere in between, an online marketer, whether you have built your business the traditional way with the 3-foot rule, or whether you're building it online using internet marketing strategies and tools. The point is this: the difference between the people that crush it in this industry, in any industry, are the people that adopt a professional mindset. Now, what does that mean? The first part of having a professional mindset is to realize that this is your thing. This is what you do. And a lot of times people think, okay, well, if I'm an amateur, I guess that means that I'm not very good. And I want to make one key differentiation here. Maybe you've heard that term, ooh, it's amateur hour, right? Maybe you've gone out to a restaurant and gotten really awful service, and you say to your friend or your partner, your spouse, man, it's amateur hour here at whatever the restaurant is. We've all had that experience. Or maybe you've flown on an airplane and on a airline, and that particular flight crew didn't treat people very well. The customer service was awful, and we say, it's amateur hour here at 35,000 feet. The fact of the matter is that's not what we're talking about. If you follow college sports, for instance, I happen to love college football. This is the prime time of the year to watch college football. You'll look at some great athletes, some remarkable athletes who simply aren't getting paid a full-time wage, right? But they're pretty darn good, and they approach it as almost as if it's their profession. And you don't even have to like football. Perhaps you're into the Olympics. If you follow any sport, doesn't matter what country you're from, those are all amateur athletes for the most part. Now, you're going to have people like Michael Phelps, who is fairly well paid. He's a professional, but he gets paid through his sponsorships and through his endorsements. He's not getting paid to be a swimmer, right? So he's actually an amateur athlete. If they're in the Olympics, they are amateur athletes. But you can look at them and say, they're fantastic. They're world class. They're the best in the world. And that's the same. That's the great news for you. As you make that transition from being a full-time employee into being a full-time entrepreneur, where you are a professional, where this is your primary ticket that you get paid, think about this. It's not about when you arrive at that point. Okay, you can be a professional right now. In fact, the sooner you adopt a professional attitude and get from the amateur attitude into the professional attitude, the sooner you will start to get paid as a professional. It's just sort of that pathway that you have to go through. And I'm going to talk to you about a couple of differentiations today about what makes an amateur and what makes a professional. The first part about this, and I want you to pay close attention, is amateurs are transactional, professionals are relational. Amateurs are transactional and professionals are relational. Now, what does that mean? That means that an amateur is constantly worried about making money. They're constantly saying words like need and want. I need to make this work. I need to make a sale. I want to make it big. I want to make it on the leaderboard. I want to make my first 6 figures, or I want to make my first sale. But you have to understand that want is a wish. The word want is simply a wish. Now, you might be putting a lot of emotion into it. You may be saying, oh, but I really want this. And I get people that tell me that all the time, and I'm thinking to myself, I can tell you really want it. The question is, what will you do? Because will is a certainty. Now, the word need is literally success repellent. It's like being the most, it will absolutely repel success when you say you need something to happen. If you come from a place of neediness, nobody wants to do business with a person who's needy. This past weekend, like I was starting to talk about, we went on this tour of a couple of homes, and there were a couple of open houses that we went into. And one real estate agent, it was a great house. In fact, it was a house. As we walked through it, my wife and I kind of looked at each other and thought, this could be the house. This one could actually work for us. And the real estate agent was just kind of indifferent, wasn't there to answer any questions, barely even acknowledged our existence. And we were the only people in the house, his only foot traffic at that point in the day. You'd have thought that he'd have been excited to see us. We were potential buyers, and he couldn't be bothered to get off his phone. He spent the whole time looking at his phone, and when I asked him a few questions, I got short answers as opposed to being, excited about the product that he was presenting. Now, that's a transactional person, somebody who really just wants to make the sale, but he's looking at a couple people walking through the house with their kids thinking, they're not here to buy. And if you approach your business from a transactional energy point where all you care about is making the sale so that you can make the money so you can get the commission, everybody in the world can sense that. You may say to yourself, nobody's going to pick up on this one, but they do. And so one of the first things that you can do to really ramp up your success in business, it doesn't matter whether it's in your marketing, whether it's in the sales point, or whether it's just you putting out a video, even if it's a Facebook Live, is to go from being transactional into being relational. Now, here's the question I will ask you, and you don't have to admit this in the comment section, but if you've ever seen somebody who is transactional, where you can feel it, right, where they're just in it for the money, give me a 2. Just type a 2 in here if you've seen that before. I'm not saying that it's you, but you've probably seen that, maybe even done business with somebody who clearly is all about the money, right? That's the most important thing for them. I see some people dialing 2s in here, and it's true because we see it all the time. And by the way, you have likely seen professional entrepreneurs that carry themselves with this attitude. So you're saying to yourself, but JT, just a moment ago, you said that if I was going to be a professional entrepreneur, I cannot be transactional. My point is this. Those people who are only about the money, those people who love to talk about the flash, the dash, the shine, but never really want to talk about what it takes to build the business, their longevity will be in question. Yours, if you take on a relational attitude, will never be in question. So what does it mean to be transactional, and what does it mean to be relational? Just a moment ago, I said transactional is meaning all about the money. Relational, just like the term would imply, is all about building relationships. Now, I personally think that one of the most important things we can do as entrepreneurs is to take on the attitude of leadership. Entrepreneurship is leadership. And so when we think about leadership, strong leaders are people who care about the people they're here to lead. It doesn't matter if this is your first day in business. All you have to do is be 2 steps ahead of somebody to help them. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, hey, this is what's currently working for me. I'm excited about this. It doesn't mean that you have to have results. It doesn't mean that you have to have made sales yet. A result means that you got off the couch, you got off your ass and did something. You took action, which for a lot of people is a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal either way, but simply because you had the courage and the vision to take action on your dream means that you're 2 steps ahead of them. You can lead those people. And if you come at them from a place of wanting to truly help them do the same, that's a relational approach to business, right? So in other words, we're not saying, hey, you should buy this. This is going to be the greatest product ever. This is going to help your skin look better. It's going to make you younger. It's going to make you feel better. It's about saying, how can I help you live a better quality of life? How can I help you find a way to succeed at all the dreams that you have, to accomplish your missions in business and life? That is a relational attitude. That's a relational posture to take. Now, I'll ask you this, type a 3 into the comment section if you know a person or two who approaches their business, their brand, their message from a relational standpoint. And you can feel free to type their names in too. And listen, if that's you, say, hey, that's me. I'm all for that. Go ahead and type a 3 and say, yes, I am relational. I'm a relational leader. I'm a relational entrepreneur, meaning I approach things with wanting to help people, to actually build long-term sustainable relationships. If that's you, I want you to type 3 in. If you know somebody who you look up to and say that is the example of a relational entrepreneur, go ahead and give them a shout out. That's pretty awesome too. So that's the first differentiation between being an amateur and being a pro. Amateurs are very transactional. They're all about the money. They're all about the metrics. They're all about themselves. Professionals take on a leadership role, and they're relational. They're here to build relationships. They really want to help people and see people succeed with their products, their services, or whatever it is they're about. The next differentiation between being an amateur and a pro is amateurs dabble, professionals get down to business. They get dirty. They get their hands dirty. Now, how does a amateur dabble? An amateur says, you know what? The sun's shining out today. You know what? I'm going to take the day off, put my toes in the sand, and enjoy some time. I've been working kind of hard at my job, and I know that my business is important, but what's one more day, right? Or I'll put it off till this afternoon. Nothing wrong with it. Okay, I'm not making any of this out to be wrong, but let's just call a spade and say, listen, that is a very amateur move, is to kind of dabble in things. And if you go back and you say, but JT, just a moment ago, you said that Olympic athletes are amateurs. They don't dabble at all. They do not. You're correct. They carry themselves as professionals. And you'll find the ones that rise through the ranks, even though they're Olympic athletes, they have the multi-million-dollar endorsement deals from Nike and all these other athletic clothing people, or maybe it's a sports drink company. Those are the people, those are the athletes that conduct themselves as professionals because they don't dabble. For them, they're up at 4 o'clock in the morning. They're working out for 4 hours, and then they go off to their job. Then they come back at lunch. They do another workout. Then after work, they work out again. They're constantly on the pursuit of excellence. And that's the big difference between an amateur and a pro. A professional is constantly getting their hands dirty, constantly elbows deep in the work. They're constantly finding new ways to do whatever it is they're doing. So if right now you're making that transition or looking to make that transition from being a full-time employee to being a full-time entrepreneur and being a professional, it starts right here. It's how you approach. If you say, listen, all I've got are 2 hours a day, and I can do those 2 hours 7 days a week. That's 14 hours. That's legit. All right, 14 hours, you can do a lot of damage in your business. Maybe you can squeak out an extra half hour, maybe a half hour a day. If you squeaked out an extra half hour a day, think about that. It's 3.5 extra hours. Now, what kind of work can you do in that 3.5 extra hours? As long as it's high quality work. It's not just for there to kind of log hours and log time, but you're actually looking to put in high quality, high value work into your business, working on your ad copy, working on your ads, working on your messaging, working on that podcast or that blog post or that Facebook Live message. That stuff will pay off, my friends. I'm telling you right now, especially if you approach it from a place of saying, I'm going to do my best work in this short window of time. I've seen people that have all day, they're full-time entrepreneurs that don't get nearly as much done as that person who's treating their business like a profession, even though they're working for somebody else. And what's interesting is that behavior carries over for when you do become full-time. Now, all of a sudden, as opposed to working 10, 12, 13, 14 hours a day for somebody else, now when you have that, quote, time freedom because your business is finally taken off and it can support you and your family and your dreams, now you realize I don't have to work 14 hours a day. I can be so much more effective because of the discipline that I put forth when I was working full-time for somebody else. You have adopted the professional attitude, the attitude of the professional entrepreneur. Okay, if this is landing for you guys, go ahead and give me a 3 in the comments. Actually, tell me, give me a 5. Give me a high 5 if this is working for you, because I got one more thing I want to share with you before I sign off here. One more differentiation between a professional and an amateur, and that is this. The amateur avoids pain. The professional runs toward it. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that you have to constantly be in physical pain. All right. It doesn't mean that you have to constantly be sore. It doesn't mean that at all. But what it does mean is that you're not afraid of the hard work. Professionals will seek out the challenge. Professionals will seek out the resistance and break through it. Professionals will seek out all of the things in their business, all of the things in their career that are difficult and ask themselves, why is it difficult and what can I do to overcome that difficulty? Now, sometimes overcoming the difficulty means offloading it to somebody else, right? It means working smarter and not harder. That's fine too. But very often, what I find is that the people who are amateur-minded are the people who will absolutely avoid at all costs any kind of pain, any kind of frustration, any kind of fear, any kind of difficult stuff, right? Hey, I don't want to get in front of Facebook Live. I'm not a very good person. So what I'll do is just continue to write my blog posts. But they put the blog post off. It's an attitude, it's a belief, it's an actual habit pattern to put things off because it's difficult, because it's frightening, because it's challenging. The professional, on the other hand, says, what's the hardest thing I can do? What's the most difficult thing I could possibly face right now? I'm going to run toward that. Believe it or not, for me, it used to be public speaking. It used to be that I would go, before I was going to go on stage or before I was to go up and speak in front of people, I would literally stop breathing. It was as if my lungs stopped moving and my diaphragm stopped going up and down and pumping the air into my lungs. It was the weirdest thing in the world. It was like my body was shutting down. But over time, I got to a place where I thought, man, this feels like home. This feels so right to be up there. And I didn't like being in front of videos, and now I love being in front of videos. So my point is this: if you run toward the pain, if you run toward the fear, if you lean into the fear will yield to you. And that's what professionals do. Professionals know that the pain is the pathway, and that they realize that becoming stronger does not happen unless you put the weight on, unless you put on the heavy lifting, unless you face the challenges. So listen, if right now you're building a business that isn't full-time yet, and you don't consider yourself a, quote, professional, realize this. You can make that shift right now at the flip of a switch. You can decide to conduct yourself as a professional. You do it by, number 1, being relational instead of transactional. Number 2, having the daily discipline and using the time that you have wisely, showing up and giving your best effort. It's not about doing more, it's about doing better quality work. And finally, embracing the tough times, the challenges. As the Navy SEALs say, embracing the suck, right? Doing the things that are difficult, remembering that the pain is the pathway, and that on the other side of that pain is strength, is courage, and is also the confidence that you have to lead other people. And that, my friends, is the difference between amateurs and pros. If you have other things that you have seen that differentiates an amateur versus a pro, go ahead and type it into the comment box. If you got some value from this video, please feel free to share it with as many people as you think would get value from it. Make sure you like our page here. And by the way, get yourself over to EliteMarketingPro.com where you can download our 10-day free boot camp that's going to help you build your business online and grow and excel your business for not just now, but for the future as well. We'll be back here tomorrow for another daily dose of awesome. Chef Katrina is going to be out here with you each and every single Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Looking forward to seeing you soon. And remember, no matter what course you fly in life, fly high, fly fast, and fly far. Have an amazing day.